May I move that a bill for an act to establish the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, provide for the engagement of Nigerians in diaspora in policies, projects, participation in the development of Nigeria, and for the purpose of utilizing human, capital, and material resources of Nigerians in diaspora.
The House adopted a motion by Abdurrahman Tereb on the activities of Boko Haram in Bama, Borno State.
At the beginning of September 2014, the Boko Haram insurgents attacked and overran Bama, Ngala, and Kalabalge local government areas of Borno State.
The Minister of Education, Malam Ibrahim Shekarau, has restricted the federal government's commitment to using education as a tool for the development of the full potentials of all Nigerians. He stated this when the chairman, House Committee on Human Rights, Benny Lar, led members of the committee on a visit to the minister in Abuja. The visit is to inquire on the efforts of government in the area of the provision of adequate education for all Nigerians.
These children are huge resources who, if not properly utilized, can turn around to be a huge burden to this country.
It's quite gradual. This does not mean one is simplifying the reason. It's no excuse at all. But if you appreciate where you are coming from, then that will help you to really take time and don't think it's a matter of 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 years.
The Bankers Committee wants Nigerian business community to take maximum benefit of the 220 billion naira small and medium enterprise fund recently released by the Apex Bank, the CBN. The committee says it already has in place a scheme that makes it possible to access the fund using movable collateral.
It's basically to look into areas of cost efficiency, because if oil revenue is declining, the best thing to do is to look at how to preserve your scarce reserves. Whatever can be produced here, why would we need to import it? So that's why we're looking at lending, supporting the power industry so that industries can work at full capacity and other initiatives.
And the advantage of this is that it takes care of all security types, and it enables the banks to be able to query that register. But the key thing is that it's very, very easy. It will make availment of loans much, much easier for retail customers, for consumer customers, and much, much faster.
Generally, customers didn't have as much access as maybe the biggest corporates. So the idea of that fund is to give access to financing to the lower segment of the market.
We now go on break.
Has ensured the reconstruction of the Abuja-Lokoja Road and the East-West Road in Port Harcourt.
The standard gauge rail tracks from Abuja to Kaduna and Lagos to Kano indicate that our trains are coming back.
The second Niger Bridge in the southeast and the local Oweto Bridge in the north-central are in progress, thanks to Shopee.
Shopee's mass transit program has made transportation easier for Nigerians.
Shopee has rehabilitated over 1,000 health centers across Nigeria.
Shopee has provided mama kits to pregnant women, and polio is on the verge of eradication.
Shopee has also ensured the provision of social amenities, and through its various training programs for young people, guarantees a better future.
Shopee, delivering service with integrity.
Well, we decided to round off the news with that beautiful message. And for now, that is the latest development from our news desk as we go back to Antonia and Kingsley for the continuation of Good Morning Nigeria.
Okay, thank you very much, Ronke. This is Good Morning Nigeria, coming to you live on the network service of the NTA. After the break, we'll have business news.
He's our number one man. Number one man. Super Eagles number one team.
Alphonsus, what is the meaning of this? What does it happen? Is I told you don't have time to work on this bus.
What makes you think you can embarrass everybody in this bus?
I do good exam with a crowd waking up.
Okay.
Won't you know the state of your car before you put it for business?
Okay, I am not a commercial bus driver. I am just going for Town National Rally, Grand Finale.
Rally? Which car rally? The same town rally. I'm on my way here to attend.
So you're also a talent?
Yes, I am.
So all of us moving inside this motor now, we will go for the same place.
This is a very big coincidence.
I'm not seeing anymore. Let me start trekking. Chief, are you two leaving me here alone?
Why not? I have to sit on the same house with you. I are my people. Whether the vehicle as well or whether I am proceeding to Abuja to attend Town Rally Grand Finale. It is the rally of all rallies.
No be only for Toko. Saturday 18th day of October 2014. Town National Rally's Grand Finale. Chai! Ego Square Abuja go expando. Expansion times 3 to contain all the supporters of Goodluck Jonathan from all over Nigeria, east, west, north, and south. John Toriolondo Alamakachuku, Bidia by 10 o'clock sharpo. Town National Rally's Grand Finale. Saturday 18th day of October 2014. How Chimo?
The final demand.
On business news this morning, Bankers Committee taxed Nigerians on bank verification number registration, and Nigerian stocks prices tumble in the capital market just as share prices slump in the global market. Shikiola Ikunaye has all these details.
Good morning and welcome to Business News. Nigeria's Bankers Committee has implored Nigerians to sign up to the Bank Verification Number Identification Scheme. The issue was one of the key subjects raised at Thursday's Bankers Committee meeting in Abuja. The bank chief executive said the scheme was formulated to help identify bank customers to an account. This, they say, is to the advantage of the customer.
We just looked at how far we've gone in getting customers to register with the banks. This is a scheme that actually reduces the risk in customers' accounts, and it's something that the Bankers Committee has reviews every meeting. It is a scheme that is of benefit to the customer because it actually mitigates the risk and reduces tampering with customers' account, and it also prevents fraud. And I think in the long run, it will also provide an easy access to customers to obtain finance and access to lending.
While urging the customers to enroll at their banks, the committee said banks have already gone far with the exercise, hoping that many customers would have been captured by the end of the year. Let's now take a look at the Nigerian capital market, where the bears have taken full charge in recent times.
The losing streak continues in the Nigerian capital market Thursday, with the market gauge all-share index losing 2.01% to close at 38,190.67 points.
So also shares prices across Europe tumbled on Thursday amid fears of a global economic slowdown and the impact of the Ebola crisis. Though global markets show some signs of stabilization after their most turbulent days in 4 years, The main stock markets in the UK, Germany and France fell more than 2%, tracking a sell-off in Asia and on the Wall Street. Borrowing costs for Greece and Italy rose, and investors looking for a safe haven pushed the gold price higher. Disappointing economic data recently from China, Germany and the US have heightened worries that global economic recovery could go into reverse. Concerns about the spread of Ebola and its impact on emerging markets also added to the worries. Lastly, in business news, Chinese Prime Minister Li Keqiang said that the only way to ensure future technological innovation is by protecting intellectual property rights, touching on an issue important to Western countries concerned about counterfeit goods. Li said only with this intellectual property being protected properly can the nations of the world move forward with innovative cooperation. And that's it on Business News. I am Shikeola Ikmenaye. Stay tuned and enjoy the rest of the program.
And welcome to that segment that many of you look for. Now, our guest, as usual, is Mr. Atoyebi. Mr. Atoyebi, you are most welcome again to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you, Antonio.
And then I think
Good
we have
morning,
quite a
Nigeria.
number of newspapers with us this morning.
Yes, of course. I mean, the papers are quite many. Let's, I have about 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you have an equal number. We begin with this day. This day is often not regular with us. But we have it today. Now, the lead story of this day, and of course, on the front pages of all the papers that we have, there's politics, there's also economy, and all sorts, a potpourri, as it were. Now, this day begins their paper today with a lead story on the economy, and it states, oil price decline opens window for subsidy removal and increased savings. And it has 3 riders there. Trillions of naira could be plowed back to government revenue, and cash-strapped states to benefit. And Okonjo-Iweala warns about effects of falling crude price. Yesterday, by your recall, we were concerned about the setting of the crude oil price for next year's budget at $78. Now, this is a follow-up to that particular story. And also, the second lead story on the front page of this day states, and it's at the top of the paper, by the way, on top of the nameplate. Stick to the truth, Jonathan tells Buhari. And just below that is a story that says, with the kicker, Oshiomhole, I am not vying for the presidency. Details are on page 11. And then the third lead story on the front page of this day states, 2015, politicians sell properties, collect loans for electioneering. And there's a rider to that. Buhari laments high cost of APC nomination form. And then, of course, the front page photograph there says something about the swearing of Fayose yesterday at Ado Ekiti. Then the next paper for us will be the Daily Sun. The Daily Sun. The Daily Sun is the next paper we are taking. And just below it, below the name flag, is a story that we indicated earlier from this day. I'm not vying for president. That's Oshiomhole. Details on page 8. But the lead story says, economy, FG, that's federal government, false Buhari. And the writer says, ex-head of state charges against president, baseless and disappointing. Then also on the front page there, we have automatic ticket. Muazu PDP governors meeting deadlocked. Muazu, of course, is the national chairman of the PDP. Automatic ticket. Muazu PDP governors meeting deadlocked. And then another story there, very interesting. War over Chibok girls. There's a rider there that says, campaigners are APC members, Audu Ogbe. I repeat, war over Chibok girls. Campaigners are APC members, Audu Ogbe. Of course, Audu Ogbe is the Director General of the campaign organization for General Muhammadu Buhari, who's an aspirant on the platform of the APC. Another rider, of course, says, it's not true. That says Ekwesili. Details on page 3. Antonia.
That's quite interesting.
Yes.
I guess people who want to know the details you will pick up. I think that story runs in many newspapers today, so they can pick it up and then read it. Okay, and then I'm going on to the National Mirror, we have the headline, I got 27.5 million naira loan to pick APC forms. That is Buhari talking there. And then beneath that story, you have this picture one, everybody full of smiles, with the president, the vice president, and then the minister of petroleum, and some other people. Beautiful picture there. Below the picture, you have PDP won't accept political Ebola defectors in Ondo. Jimo Ibrahim is talking. And beneath that, you have a rider, automatic ticket brews fresh crisis for Senate-bound governors. That story can be found on page 2. And then a little black strip there, mutiny. Army bars journalists from proceedings. That story is on page 7. Now we go again above the masthead. You have the picture of the central bank governor, and to the story there is 220 billion naira MSMEs funds. Collateral registry takes off soon. That is the CBN talking, and the story is on page 5. And then, of course, like I said, the story Kingsley read, Boko Haram reps tax federal government to reclaim Borno local government, I'm sorry. And then, of course, you have that one. Ogbe admits APC sponsorship of the Bring Back Our Girls campaign. That story can be found on page 12. And those are the stories making the headlines in the National Mirror this morning. And then, of course, we go to newsprint, or blueprint rather. And then the major story is, I inherited over 57 billion naira debt, says Fayose. And then you have two riders, appoint special assistant on stomach infrastructure, as secretary to the state government, CPS, others. And then Jonathan will focus attention on Ekiti. That is from the PDP chairman, Moazo. The story can be seen on page 6. And then above that story, you have 25 Nigerian pilgrims die in Saudi Arabia. What a sad one. The story can be read on page 52. And then, of course, you have a series of other stories immediately below the masthead of the blueprint. You have Buhari laments over 27.5 million APC tickets. The story is on page 10. And then the last story there, Northern Chiefs arrest 1,000 Boko Haram members. The story can be found on page 10. And then, of course, there's a picture story of Ayo Fayose being sworn in yesterday as the governor of Ekiti State.
Okay. We'll take the Guardian very quickly. And the lead story, of course, is on General Yakubu Gowon, who is 80 years old, former head of state. How I overcame fear when I became head of state at 31 by Gowon. And there's a quote there, it's an excerpt from the interview. After the second coup, when it became very clear that I would become the head of state, if only you know the fear that overwhelmed me. There are 3 writers there. It says, I wanted to be a teacher. And another one says, Abuja was my dream. And lastly, I was a popular choice. The details are contained in the Guardian newspaper, which had an exclusive interview with the former head of state, who is 80 years old. Now, the other story on the front page of the Guardian says, government broke. Government broke is in inverted commas anyway, and council's allocation meeting, and says to earn 7.28 trillion naira from oil in 2015, and budgets 1.22 trillion naira for petrol and kerosene subsidies. And also, on the front page of the Guardian, Fayose, the story on Fayose, and he has, well, Fayose sworn in, that's the second lead story on the front page of the Guardian, demotes 8 permanent secretaries and appoints secretary to the state government and an aide, as Antonia read earlier, on stomach infrastructure. Then the Guardian has news notes, Pakistani Christian gets death in blasphemy case, gets death sentence, obviously. And huge appetite for foreign tourism puts Nigeria's $7 billion industry at stake. And sports minister expresses shock over Keshi's sack.
Okay,
let's go over to Bayo.
Thank you very much. I think our house must go out and congratulate General Yakubu Gowon, who will be 80 on Sunday. And the truth about it all is that when he became head of state, he had fears, and providence sometimes play a strong role in our lives. He intended to be a teacher, but he became a soldier and became a head of state. However, I think I see a parallel between General Gowon's ascendancy to become head of state at a time when we had national challenges, which eventually led to a brotherly war. We are in a similar situation now, and that is why I want to draw a parallel when President Goodluck Jonathan said, I support the bring back our girls to put pressure on us, but I have to be blunt. There are no easy answers to this challenge. And this brings us to the revelation that is coming now, that what had appeared to be an altruistic agitation for the release of the Chibok girls is now having some political undertone. If you look at what is advocacy, advocacy is precisely trying to pursue a public cause and making sure that that public cause is on the front burner all the time so that it's not swept under the carpet. What is militancy? Militancy is believing in a social cause and devising means that can even disrupt the public peace to achieve it. When you go for advocacy, and that advocacy appears to be militancy, then you are not helping matters. All of us, those in government, are embarrassed by the 186 days of the Bring Back Our Girls, the Chibok girls, they are there. Everybody is embarrassed. Nobody is half as embarrassed as the soldiers who see it as their duty. But ironically, they want to bring the girls back alive. And that is why we must be very careful. However, the pronouncement that Bring Back Our Girls are members of the APC has been denied by Obi Ezekwesili. And therefore, we need to be very careful. One thing must guide us. Our interest must be that of Nigeria. Congratulations to Governor Ayo Fayoshi. He has started on active mode. I'm glad that Justice Ayodele Daramola, who has been another edge of the storm that led to the closure of the court, was there to swear in the governor. The governor has now created another lexicon in the political dictionary of Ekiti. They've given us stomach infrastructure, and he now has a special assistant for that. He has also made revelations about the debt profile of the state and has discountenanced the 19 newly created local development areas, referring that I have just sworn to defend the Constitution and I'm going to stick by the 16 local government.
And demoted some permanent secretaries?
Yes, there were some promotions and there were some demotions. And the teachers in the state have graciously called off their strike to allow him to settle down.
Okay. Well, Bayo, I was wondering, you know, sometimes we tend not to recognize the likely effect of our actions. I'm saying this in light of what the former governor, Dr. Fayemi, was doing in a rapid fire manner, you know, promoting or appointing permanent secretaries and all kinds of things, you know, creating local government development areas. When, of course, you know, the incoming governor was raising issues about those things. Now he has exercised his authority as governor.
Well, so, that is politics. You know, until Ayodele Fayoshi was sworn in yesterday, the governor in Ekiti was Fayemi, and if he had taken actions, it was within his prerequisite, his authority as the governor then. Okay. But you know politics, things that are today may not be tomorrow, and that is what we are experiencing.
Okay.
So, well, I agree. I mean, but if you want to take decisions, why don't you take any decisions that will endure? Well, anyhow, we'll continue with our review. Anthony, I want to take the next one.
Yes. Okay, we start. I'll take the leadership newspaper today, and quite a number of stories making the runs on the front page of leadership. The main one is PDP sets fresh hurdle for Senate-bound governors. And then you have two riders, Muazu, governors meeting failed to reach consensus, and South-South governor, senator clash before Jonathan. All that story can be found on page 4 of the leadership this morning. And then beneath that, you have Langtang local government. Tribunal nullifies PDP candidate selection, declares Dandol winner. That story is on page 10. Beside that, you have Jonathan submits confab resolutions to the National Assembly. That story is on page 5. And then beside it, you have mutiny. Army bars media from covering trial of 97 soldiers. That story also can be found on page 5. And then, of course, you have the picture story there, and the story there is 2015 on reelecting governorship aspirants and candidates. Will they be lucky this time around? That's 1 million question for you. And some of those unrelenting aspirants, if you're interested, you pick up the copy of the leadership today and then see what it has to say.
Okay, very quickly, we take the Vanguard. The front page, of course, has the story on the inauguration of Fayose. But there are a number of stories we'll just take very quickly. One below the name flag, Oshodi Apapa Road. Blame federal government and Lagos government, says Nupeng. Details to be found on page 13. And then we'll go to the foot of the front page. We sacked Keshi to save his life. That's according to NFF. Details to be found on page 64. And also promoted on the front page there, 1,000 Boko Haram members arrested in Southwest. Find out the details on page 11. But I go very quickly to inside now, page 6. Page 6 of Vanguard. I have stolen millions with ATM cards. That's a suspect. He's a 23-year-old graduate, and when he was arrested, he had over 60 ATM cards in his possession, and that was in Calabar, Cross River State, where he arrived from Abuja 2 weeks ago. And he said, this is the way he carries out his operation. That what I do is to monitor people making withdrawals from ATMs. I go close to them and pretend to help. I memorize their PIN numbers, and while the person is counting his money, I swap his ATM card with an invalid one and later use it to make withdrawals from his account. Details are to be found on page 6 of the Vanguard. And on page 7 also of Vanguard, very quickly, man, on page 7 of Vanguard, man, 35, that's a 35-year-old man, infects 12-year-old groundnut hawker with HIV. That's from Bauchi State. And another story also from Bauchi State, that's where the deadline shows. 18-year-old kills husband in Bauchi. Page 7 of Vanguard. Antonia?
Yeah, from the pilot, the major story is the Bring Back Our Girl campaigners are APC members. Audi Ogbe. The story can be found on page 4. And of course, you have the picture story of Ayo Fayose being sworn in yesterday. And it says, my emergence is divine, Fayose. And the rider says Fayemi left 57 billion naira debt. Of course, and that story continues on page 4. And then beneath it, you have quite a number of stories. You have a federal government spends 1.765 trillion on roads, installed wheel bridges. That story is on page 6. And then Buhari laments high cost of APC nomination form, page 6 also. And then the Friday magazine of the pilot, you have why people still believe in using love potion. That story can be read on page 31. Then man arrested for, okay, Kingsley has already read that, man arrested for infecting 12-year-old with HIV and AIDS. And finally, insurgency won't stop elections in emergency states. Jega insists. That story is on page 15. And then, of course, before we go, a little of sports. AFCON, that's just slightly below the masthead. AFCON 2015. CAF may consider Nigeria as host. That story is on page 7. If those who are following the trend, you'll remember that the country that already signed up to host it is considering stepping down, or has even stepped down because of the fear of Ebola. So now, but I think I heard in the news today that South Africa is offering to host AFCON 2015. But CAF says they may consider Nigeria as host, and that story can be found on page 7. And very good news also to know that the rails are working. They say 5 million Nigerians travel by rail, says the minister. That story is on page 7. And those are the stories making the rounds on the pilot this morning.
Okay, very quickly, we'll take the Nation, but we'll go to the inside pages of the Nation newspaper. Page 4 of the Nation newspaper. Adamawa, that's the kicker there. Page 4, one of the stories we take from the Nation. Court falls Fintire's claim on judgment. If you recall, there was a story that he had not received a certified true copy of the judgment. Adamawa court fought Fintire's claim on judgment. And then also on page 6 of the Nation, Jonathan should declare war on Boko Haram, says Falai. And then also on that page, Jonathan decries politicization of Ebola containment. And two writers to that story. Don't celebrate yet, minister tells Nigerians, and federal government donates 250 million naira. Bayo, let's quickly discuss some of these stories.
No, sorry, before it comes in, since I have just one more paper, let's just quickly take a look at it. Most of the stories are just are so much the same, of course. And then the lead story here is Buhari lied, and that is credited to President Jonathan. And beneath that picture story that I pointed to earlier, we have Fayose to appoint special assistant on stomach infrastructure. Really nothing so new in the Union newspaper this morning. Except for those above the masthead, you have Amasiemeka Owolabi. Others disagree on Keshi's sacking. That story can be found on page 2. And then Mark to Kwankwanso, I can't support you. That story can be found on page 35. And then 300 residents in win houses in Lagos. That story is also on page 35 of the Union newspaper. That's just the last I have today this morning.
Well, let me quickly relate to two issues that relate to our colleagues, particularly the media. One is the fact that pronouncement made at political rallies sometimes can compromise the media. And therefore, this area of caution is that it's not anything that is said on the political rostrum that has to be taken hook, line, and sinker, because you could be an accessory to a libel, particularly those who run live commentaries, if you don't have the required delayed facilities to be able to take out issues that might be libelous, because you could be a party to a libel. Secondly, yes, fine. Secondly, the army, the trial of soldiers who are standing trial for mutiny, there has been an instance where journalists have been asked to leave the court. And I think this is normal. Although in a conventional court, journalists are required and they are supposed to be there. Even there, if the judge chooses that the case requires that they need to protect an underage and the matter should not get to the public, he has the prerogative to clear the court. Because Lord Denning is a legal luminary. He once said that in every court in England, you see a young man, he writes a lot, he says nothing. He is the journalist. His role is not only to see that justice is done, but justice is seen to be publicly done. So the role of the media is very central to carry the carriage of justice. But in circumstances where matters bordering on tactics, security, and in a war situation, it is within the prerogative of the court or the tribunal to exclude journalists. And so it is not out of order. However, by the time they get to judgment, that has to be made public, and the journalists will have to cover it. There is another clarification about the court. Fintri had cried that he was not given a certified true copy. The court has replied that under Section 2 judgment ready, and the judgment, a copy of it was given to him yesterday. You recall that the judgment was delivered on October 8th. If you add 7 days to that, by October 16th, 8 plus 7, 15. By October 15th, the 7 days had lapsed, and a copy was given to him yesterday. And one must credit the judge because it was a 47-page judgment to get it ready to get across. Finally, on sports, there is a danger here. NFF said they sacked Keshi to save his life. And apparently, there was an invasion of the pitch after the match with Sudan on Wednesday. And this must be guarded against, because this is a gross violation of FIFA rules that can even bring us a ban as a nation. And therefore, our security agencies and FFF must make sure that the pitch is never invaded, because in football terms, it is a very, very critical issue. But be that as it may, the issue of a coach's success is usually tied to the success. In fact, the Honorable Minister in charge of sports, the chairman of the National Sports Commission, said that even the sack came to him as a surprise. He had actually expected the sack after the defeat in Sudan, but it didn't come then, it came later on. Be that as it may, I think those are the key stories, and except to add that the Falcons are playing their third match today, and we wish them success. It's only a formality because they already have enough points, I think, to qualify for the next round.
Okay, we want to thank you very much, Mr. Abayo Atoyebi, for your insightful analysis of some of the headlines on the newspapers this morning. So thank you, and then, of course, we take a quick break. After that, Good Morning Nigeria continues.
Your favorite Dettol 70-gram pack for 100 Naira, and now available, the Super Family Pack for 170 Naira only. Whichever Dettol soap you choose, you get maximum protection against germs every day.
As a civil servant, he served Kano State government for 17 years. As a politician, his entry point was Deputy Speaker of House of Representatives, later a member of the Constitutional Conference. As a leader of the masses, he started as a governor of the most populous state. As a trusted Nigerian, custodian and defender of Nigeria's unity and sovereignty, he served as defense minister for about 4 years, presidential advisor on Darfur and Somali. As a politician with true sense of justice and nationalism, he served on the board of NDDC. As a dogged fighter, politician of all seasons, he was re-elected as governor after 8 years of first term. As a crusader for justice and fairness in politics, he led fellow governors to join a robust opposition party. As a detribalized Nigerian, he knows all the nooks and crannies of this country. As a global bridge builder, he has traversed all the continent of the world and interacted with political and military leaders in more than 50 countries. Indeed, Kwankwaso can be trusted to do more for Nigeria.
Now you can save even more with Ariel's brilliant stain removal. Just by buying the bigger, better 90-gram economy sachet. You get more with Ariel 90 grams by saving a whooping 20. Start saving now. Ariel, Nigeria's best removal in one wash.
1 cup of jig in the water will get school uniforms whiter, and it is the tough stain fighter that will get your whites much brighter. Just Jiggins! Pot puree and lemon. Just Jiggins! Hey, you better go get it! Now available in lemon and pot puree fragrances, the newest and freshest way to jig it.
Okay, the 2015 general elections are just 4 months away, and activities leading up to the big moment are on. Political parties, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and stakeholders are already in the arena, making their voices heard on what must be done before 2015. Here is Ann Jibuno with some of the issues that we should be on the lookout for.
Recent increase in the tempo of political activities in Nigeria is attracting comments from all segments of the society. Many of these border on issues such as the current situation where parties are voted for as against people running for elective positions. Though some politicians see themselves as pillars in such parties, observers are of the opinion that Nigerians must exercise their franchise knowledgeably, voting only when they are convinced that such a candidate will act in their interest.
It's no longer the case that you will sit and think if you buy off an INEC official, then they will return results for you. It cannot happen. If it happens, it will easily be detected and known, and the person will have to answer for it. You cannot expect policemen or security agencies to do what they were doing in the past. It will be known. You know, if they try to snatch ballot boxes and stuff them and bring them back into the process. So really we have incrementally improved the process to a level of transparency. The challenge is to prevent regression and to keep on improving, and we are committed to that and will continue to do that.
The current comparison with countries like the United States of America, with over 200 years of democracy, to Nigeria with just over 14 years of the practice, has been described as unfair. Analysts call for patience on the part of Nigerians as the country develops her own democracy, which they say will gradually evolve into the type seen in countries like the United States. The further amendment to the Electoral Act 2010 by the Senate is also a nagging issue, especially with less than 4 months to the 2015 general elections. They also call for a clearer distinction between campaigns, rallies, and the exercise of free speech, adding that political parties who do not comply with INEC's timetable for campaigns should be properly sanctioned.
Well, seated in the studios with us to look at the issues that have been raised in that background report is distinguished Senator Chris Anyao. Senator Anyao, you're most welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
It's good to be here.
Okay.
Well, okay, for the benefit of our viewers, Senator Chris Anyao is an alumna of the Nigerian Television Authority. She's also been a publisher of a magazine and a good ambassador of journalists and journalism in the upper chamber of the National Assembly. Very briefly, 2015 is 4 months away. What is your prognosis ahead of the elections?
We will not have any national crisis, because that's where everybody, looks at whether the heavens will fall, and heavens will not fall. The last time that was the what was forecast for Nigeria. But you see, we went through it and we survived. And so I also think that in the upcoming election, things will go well. There may be hiccups here and there. But the thing is to begin to talk about those things that will, bring about such hiccups and to begin to deal with them. So I think that we will be okay at the end of the day.
So what are those things that you think can bring about those hiccups and that we need to talk about?
Intemperate language, injustice, lack of level playing ground, and so on. When people think that the system or organization or party or individuals have run roughshod of their own rights, it brings out the worst in them and people get really out of hand. And those are the things that we have to make sure don't happen.
Okay, the point made in our background indicated that the Senate is still grappling, as it were, with an amendment to the Electoral Act 2010, just 4 months, as we said earlier, to the elections. Of what use will such an amendment be when, as it were, INEC is already ruling with the 2010 Act as amended?
Well, just a few little things that have to be fine-tuned. I think that by end of next week, we'll see how far we can go. There's a likelihood that we'll vote on those elements this coming week. And if we do, then we'll get somewhere. But that we're winding down, everybody's already in the field, for re-election, and that's what delays matters. But I am optimistic that the way that the two houses, are handling it, that we should be able to tidy up, especially on the Electoral Act.
Okay, let's look at some of the issues you threw up. We're talking about those things we need to talk about so that we ensure that the 2015 election is itch-free. You talked about injustice, lack of level playing field, yes, and then some other issues. But the people are worried about the fact that within the parties, internal democracy is not really there. We are hearing of consensus candidates. We are hearing of people adopting or supporting somebody over many others who are equally ambitious. They try their luck with it.
Well, the adoption thing, I find is something that is a strategy that that some employ, especially when they think that they don't have, they are not too strong on ground. If you're really strong on the ground and you have been campaigning and you feel that you get the right feel in the field, then you should be able to go through with the whole process, getting into primary. But quite often people want to short-circuit it and be adopted and come out, as a candidate over and above others. What do you think others are going to be doing? Sit down and put their hands on their laps and watch you do that? The rules say you have to. The Electoral Act says it has to be by, primary. People have to exercise their right of choice of, among the aspirants. So the adoption, are you going to say, okay, there won't be any primary? Even if you are preferred and you think that everything is okay, you still have to give people the right to say yes or no. And so I don't see, that happening. And I'm very glad that my party, the largest party in Africa, has said no adoption, no short security. We are going to do it right, and we're going to do it right, because they have seen. That's what brought about the problem within the party, and they don't want to go through that crisis again. So they say everybody must go through the process, and at the end of the day, then the party will exercise its right, as determined by the Supreme Court, to now make the final judgment on the flag bearer.
Okay, sorry, Kingsley. So, but we hear that there are some rumblings underneath, that some people are saying that what is good for the goose should be good for the gander.
What is the goose and what is the gander? Let's go to primary. That one is a different thing. In the United States and other places we're aspiring, we're copying. Those who are sitting, on that level, especially, they exercise their right, of first choice or whatever it is they call it. That which is that if you're a sitting president, that your party gives you the right, first of all, before anybody else. And that is a universal, practice. And but that's not the same with the lower level. Right. Yes.
Well, fairly,
there will be arguments about that. But
yes, but Senator Ayon, a fairly worrisome development. I mean, it was always there anyway when the announcement was made some weeks ago. And it has to do with what has been described as the lockup of access, to the democratic space. The cost of nomination forms. Both PDP and APC apparently have the same challenge. What is your take on this? It appears to be a fundraiser, as it were, for the political parties.
Well, they would have another fundraiser the next 4 years, so they might as well have a romp on it. But the thing is that as democracy proceeds in Nigeria, a lot of people want to be part of it. Look, if in this house now, if we were to ask people, how many of you want to run, if the field were, if it were free, I think the half of NTA would want to run for office. And that's what, so there has to be a system of filtering, out some of the, some people. And the cost, the cost is high, but if you were lower, think about the administrative problem that they are going to have. How many, how do you even handle a primary for one position, one senatorial seat, where you have over 100, 200, aspirants? It becomes a huge issue. So I think that is what is going on there, but.
No, but we read in the papers this morning. Some people are already selling off their properties, taking loans, just to be able to pick up these forms.
Yeah, but if you sell all your property to pick up the form, what do you sell, to do the primary first, if you're in PDP, and then what do you sell to do the election?
So you think
election all through, not just the forms. Election in Nigeria is so prohibitive. Nowhere in the world does it cost as much. In America, what does it cost? And how do you even raise money? You raise money in little trickles. There's a limit as to how much you can donate or you can contribute to anybody's election. And so, but over here, to do an election, a primary in one of the parties, people are talking about 2 billion, 3 billion, and young studs are coming out and saying, look, I have a deep pocket to prosecute this war, and it's a war that you have to spend 3 billion to get a ticket. That is huge. That is massive. It's not the ticket alone. It is every step in the way. It is even introducing yourself. You say good morning, say bring the money. Where is the money? That's a greeting. But we got to do something, because I think the election process strips the political elite of what they got. It makes a lot of people poor. And then they start building up only to be stripped down, again, the next 4 years. There has to be something. And we have the laws. We have the laws. The INEC has the power of monitoring. How much you can spend, how much you can give people is there already. It's a mechanism for monitoring and then enforcement.
I'm just wondering, for the benefit of our viewers, you've already mentioned one fairly obvious cost center in electioneering. You say good morning, you say bring the money. What are the other cost centers? If we identify the cost centers, perhaps it will be a lot easier to begin to address them and see how we can whittle down the cost of those centers.
That is a whole book in itself. The cost centers is like the early morning meetings, the tours you have to do in your ward, in your constituency, in your local government, in your state. Every point you have to say, and it's like PR, you can't just carry a basket of coal and give them, yeah, that is good. But at the end of the day, people have left their homes, far away to come and attend a meeting that you called. How do they get home? It's the transporting them back. It's not bribe, it's transporting them back. And the quantum of people that you have invited, who you have to transport back, that is part of the cost. And it's a factor of also a general poverty. If these people had the way and means to drive themselves to the venue of the event, listen to you, ask you questions and all that, and go home, without too much difficulty, then, that cost will be taken off you. But because they don't have the money, it is now your responsibility to bring them and to take them back home. And you see, that is where the cost comes, every step in the way.
Is it also the case that there is some expectation from the constituents that, look, this politician will most likely abandon us in terms of returns when he or she gets into office, so we might as well cash in on our ATM before the elections?
That's part of it. That's the Nigerian populace have been nurtured on this whole thinking, this mindset, and they have become very greedy and very unkind to the politicians. And you have to really empathize with the politician, because they are suffering and the system is killing them, but they cannot, protest, because people will say, if you don't have it, why do you come in? But what it does in the end, it affects the quality of outcome, because a lot of very highly qualified people, the best people are out there, and they will not put themselves through this, crucifixion. And so you have situations, sometimes where the best have been scared away, and all you have are people who have a load of money but very little to offer. And that is affecting society as a whole. Something has got to give.
Okay, Senator Ayan, we want to just hold you there as we bring in our Lagos studios, where Dr. Abimbola Ogunkelu, he was former Minister for Regional Integration and Cooperation in Africa and the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He's sitting there in Lagos to join us on this discussion. Dr. Ogunkelu, you are most welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Okay, Dr. Ogunkelu, if you can hear us, yes, if you can hear us, we have right with us in the Abuja headquarters here, Senator Chris Ayan. She's indicated what her prognosis is for next year's general elections. What do you see, or what do you foresee in another 3-4 months, when Nigerians will be in the heat of campaigns and then also voting proper in 2015? You're going to see a breakdown, or you're going to see a build-up?
There will certainly be a build-up as we go into electioneering till we have the elections. I don't think there will be major crisis in the country because of campaigning and canvassing for elections. But it's important that security must be tight, and the security agencies must be on top of the game. There certainly may be certain elements who may want to cause disruptions, but if the security elements are doing their job, there certainly will be no problem in the country. Usually when election is coming, there's always the fear that there will be hoodlums and there will be breakdown of law and order, but that's the fear that exists in practically all countries of the world towards election time. And it's just important that the security agencies must be on top of the game.
Dr. Ogunkelu, like we were discussing with Senator Chris Ayan, the prohibitive costs of, pursuing one's political ambition. Many people will think that it's preventing some people who really think they can contribute but don't have the means. And she has said we need to do something about it. What do you think can be done to ensure that we bring down the cost of pursuing political ambition in this country?
Quite a few things can be done. First of all, the costs to individuals who want to obtain forms for election. I think political parties must find a way that people don't have to pay so much, because if you really want good people to contest an election, a lot of good people may not have the money, and then you end up with people who have amassed wealth in different ways trying to vie for election, and the quality of legislators, both federal and state, will be affected. So the costs, the direct cost of getting forms must be looked into. Maybe it's too late for this election this time, but subsequent elections, that is very important. Also, there must be a way in which, by legislation, we have to limit contributions to elections. It's almost becoming like a norm that money bags will end up hijacking elections, because it becomes like is the contesting or winning election is for the higher bidder. That also must be looked into.
Dr. Ngukalo, as you said, Senator Anyanwu may respond to some of the points that you've raised. Well, very quickly, you talked about increasing the level of security during the electioneering and during voting. Now, in recent months, we've had governorship elections in Ekiti and Osun states. And one of the key issues that came up in those elections had to do with the so-called militarization of the election, that the states were flooded with security personnel and so on and so forth. How then do we deal with this if security is vital towards ensuring transparent elections? And some grumbling anyway about police and soldiers all over the place.
Militarization of election was expressed by the opposition to at least the APC in the two states. And because they thought because there were security people, elections will not be free and fair. But elections have been free and fair. In Ekiti, one party won. In Osun, another party won. So, and there was presence of military people, security people. So you can no longer be saying that having security people is going to adversely affect elections. If anything, it will prevent miscreants from hijacking elections.
Okay, well, so let's come back to our guest in the Abuja studios, and that is Senator Chris Anyanwu. Before we went to the Lagos studios, you talked about the electorate now being, I think you used the word, they are now, is it hostile, and they are too demanding on the political, unfair on the political leaders. And I want to believe that I think they have learned from the past, because many a times, like Kingsley did ask you, once the person is elected, they don't get to see the person again. And then they now think this is our time, let's get whatever we can. So how do you really balance the two? Because you find that the people are complaining that the dividends of democracy are not actually getting down.
It's not always true that once people are elected, they don't get to see them. Because, for instance, we legislators, we live with them, we go to their weddings, burials, we get them out of hospital, we pay school fees, we give them empowerment, we do all sorts of things. But that will not stop them from this expectation. I think that we politicians are responsible for this, monster that has been unleashed on us now. We have fed them on this diet, and now they want more and more and more. It is a political culture that has taken hold. It will take time. It will take some time to get them out of that mindset, So we are responsible for the over expectation from the electorate.
Very quickly, based on your media background, what do you think should be the role of the media in moderating the language of campaign? Already there is a spat between the General Buhari declaring his intention to run on the platform of the APC and the statements he was alleged, but he made, and then the response now by the presidency saying that he didn't state the facts. What do you think should be the role of the media? And how should politicians also conduct themselves?
What the media is trained to be impartial observers of situation and to bring to the light the real arguments, the real facts. When a person, maybe a senator or a governor, goes out and says something outrageous and makes an outrageous claim, a false claim, it is the duty of we, the media, to put the facts before the public. And there's a lot of deception going on. some people are really working on the minds of people with all sorts of falsehood. And it is our duty to point out to the people before they believe what they should not, that, hey, these facts are not correct. And also, to call, to order some of us who make careless statements that, hey, this is where it's going to lead, because it's going to be your comment and not a counter comment, and it flares up, until there is violence and order. And anything that an authority figure or a person of note says, remember that a whole lot of people behind you who admire you, who follow you, are listening. You may not say kill, but the way you have, the careless statement you have made, the way you have talked about your opponent becomes the trigger for them to go and kill. So we have to be very mindful of the impact we have on followers, on people below us. So that is the role of the media, to continue to do that. I have seen some media persons becoming the spokespersons of politicians. And like I am talking here now, I say, he said, and they go and say, she did not say, something like that. They are speaking for someone. And I think that NUJ and the press council should really sit up this time and monitor what the media are doing. And in that instance, I want to say also, because people like us, are in a special situation. There aren't too many females in politics. And females, have their own problem in the political landscape. And in this wise, I want to talk about the rise of sexism, in our politics. Before, when we started, there weren't too many people that would say, oh, you're a woman, go and sit down, But suddenly we see that the effrontery of people who are sexist or even misogynist is rising. And they are coming out and saying, don't vote for her because she's a woman. And the Nigerian Constitution, every constitution we have had in this country, all the conventions in which Nigeria is a signatory to, even the CEDAW that we have also signed, all call about non-discrimination, fairness, justice, and all that. Now, for politicians to begin to say that kind of thing, is very dangerous. It's like throwing a toxic weapon in the political landscape. Okay. And I think that there should be INEC and all the political parties should really, really, take note of this and begin to work on it. Otherwise, you will see the number of women in the political landscape going to disappear. Okay. And you won't have any women in the National Assembly, you won't have any elected women. And appointment is not enough.
Oh, wow. Okay, yes. Senator distinguished Senator Chris, I want to thank you very much. But before you go, let's bring in our guest in Lagos, Dr. Ogunkelu, to respond to this new trend that you said is emerging. Okay, well, okay, maybe we should quickly go on a break. Then after that, I'll throw that question to Dr. Ogunkelu, and then maybe we'll get to listen to what he has to say. But that is really a very dangerous trend that you really pointed out. So we come back. Please stay with us. It's still Good Morning Nigeria.
There is an Ebola virus epidemic in some West African countries. The Nigerian government wants you to be aware and watch out against the spread of Ebola in your community. Help keep our country safe. Refer anybody coming into Nigeria from any other West African country to a hospital for proper medical screening. And watch out for severe cases of fever, headaches, diarrhea, chest and abdominal pain, sore throat, cough, red eyes, and bleeding from the eyes, ears, and nose. Protect yourself. Wash your hands regularly with soap and sanitizer. Avoid contact with the blood, urine, feces, or saliva of animals like bats, monkeys, gorillas, chimpanzees, or infected persons. The Ebola virus is deadly. Don't catch it. Don't spread it. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
I bet you can touch your nose with your thumb. A nose? It's the same with your toilet. There are many places in your toilet that detergents cannot clean. That is why the new Harpic 5 times Complete gives you 5 times better cleaning than detergent from the rim all the way to the U-bend, making your toilet completely clean. With Harpic 5 times complete, you will definitely reach all the hard-to-clean places in your toilet.
Harpic Power Plus. Buy now for only 350 naira.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Okay, this is Good Morning Nigeria, which is coming to you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We are discussing 2015 and the matters that we need to keep in focus to ensure that the elections are free, fair, credible, and violence-free. Already, we've had two guests. Just leaving us a moment ago was distinguished Senator Chris Ayaun. And right there at the Lagos Network Center, we still have Dr. Ogunkelo. Ogunkelo, of course, is a former minister of the Federal Republic. And, of course, joining us now in the Abuja network, in Abuja headquarters, is another very distinguished senator, Senator Kabiru Gaya, former governor of Kano State. He was the governor of Kano State during the diakical arrangement from 1992 until 1993. Distinguished Senator Gaya, welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much. 93 we were booted out by the military. So at least we're happy now we have the democracy at least lasting for this number of years.
Okay, well, 15 years on, uninterrupted. Our democracy is growing, but there are still flashpoints, and there are still red flags. Yeah. Particularly now as we approach the 2015 elections, what should be our concern?
Well, our major concern first is to have security-wise to be peaceful in such a way that the election can be conducted under a conducive atmosphere for everybody to go exercise his right. That's one. Two, the election should be free and fair. And I'm not happy the way elections are going on recently in the country. Remember what happened in Ekiti State, where physically it's shown that on the day of the election, people are carrying some bags of rice, carrying a picture of a candidate. I think that is constitutionally or even along the Electoral Act is wrong. And so which means we are putting money politics more than thinking of a candidate that can be able to deliver the goods, a candidate that can be able to perform. And that's why we're making even the democracy or democratic process very, very expensive. So I believe the most critical thing is the government should maintain peace and stability in the country so that we can be able to conduct election.
Okay, Senator Craig, distinguished Senator Chris Ayaun did mention that you politicians are really the ones responsible. You are making the electorate expect so much from you, and here you are complaining about the fact that the electorates are demanding so much. So where really is
the major problem is the issue of poverty. If you remember during the first Republic, the elections were conducted. People don't care about asking the person they are voting money. Even out to our own time, during the 1991 election, people are not asking, give me this, give me that before I vote for you. Or voters are not putting their leaves on their head, asking this, how much can you give me for me to vote for you? It's because the poverty level has already deteriorated. And the way in such a way this is happening is that people are so, the poverty is high, people want money. And if I as a person wanted to be an elected officer or person, I have to put money to my electorate. It means I'm investing money on that. And once I win the election, I'll have to recover or recoup what I have spent in multiples. Because I'll be thinking of the next election. If I spend 200 million or 100 million now, maybe the next election I'll spend 300 or more. So I will recoup more. And this is issue of corruption. And then also the system. There is no confidence on what you expect, that even if you are good and you have done well, you say, okay, by tomorrow, definitely if they go to election because I've done well for my people, I will certainly be voted in. But because of insecurity, uncertainty of what's happening, that if you are doing well and somebody comes with money the following day and gives it out, you lose the election. So it's really, the issue is not only the fault of some of us who are buying for positions, but even the common man, even the government itself. When there is poverty, sadly when you bring up money, some people will go and vote for you because of that money. And if you spend money to win election, it means you are investing. You may not be able to perform much for the electorate.
But it may not be sufficient. It may not be sufficient merely to blame poverty alone for this, because there would appear now to be an institutional framework for raising the cost of elections. For instance, the cost of obtaining nomination forms. Just yesterday, General Buhari, complained politely to his party, the APC, that expression of interest and nomination forms were costing him 27.5 million naira.
And he had to take a loan.
Yeah, and the same thing for the PDP. Yeah. So how do you deal with this kind of institutionalized needless cost of electioneering?
You see, it all boils to many other sides. Even the 27 million the president is putting, or the aspirant is putting for a form, now how much does it cost advertised in the news media? You people are charging so much money. If the party, so it's both sides. You also have to blame the internet, the media itself, because printing, advert on a newspaper costs you over 1 million naira per page. So if you go,
I'm sorry, that's not correct.
I'm just giving an example.
It's not correct. Yes.
If you have
color page is probably not up more than 600, 700,000.
Fine. If you are putting that on one paper, if you need to put 2 or 3 papers in a day, it means you are spending over 1 million plus.
Yes.
And that's expensive. And you have about, from now to elections, about through 2 months plus. So that is also, so if the print and the news media should be able to, or electronic media should be able to reduce their cost to a bare minimum, I think that's also reducing the cost of the election. And also what you have in the 27 million naira for presidential aspirant from our party. Took up advert. How much did it cost for advert? How much did it cost for mobilization? How much will it cost for printing of these ballot papers for the primaries? So it is expensive really, but it's uncalled for. But we have to bear the situation like that, because it's now giving an alternative that if you don't have that money, you cannot contest. But for president who is going for election in 36 states of the federation, even if you put 1 million per state, it's over 36 million. So sadly, he's going to spend more than 36 million naira to at least reach these people.
Okay, so maybe we pause there, Senator Gaya, and then we'll go back to our Lagos studios where Dr. Ogunkelu is still sitting in. And then, of course, we want to bring you in and then to respond to some of these issues that have been discussed. Otherwise, Senator Chris Ayan was here, or what Senator Gayatu has also raised, particularly when he talked about the issue of growing poverty, when he says maybe because of that, the electorates now are being made to now succumb to inducement and things like that. But when we talk of political education, and some people have canvassed that, can people collect the money and then still vote for their conscience?
Well, at election time, before election, there are all sorts of maneuvers. But we hope that people at the end of the day will vote their conscience at the time of election. Poverty, like the senator said, it's a key factor in the cost of electioneering. But also, if they realize that, I think the legislators also should bring about some laws and some development programs that can reduce poverty in the country. To fight poverty is not a federal government job alone. It's not a federal government war. At all levels, state and local government and federal, all governments must be engaged in fighting poverty. Really, the level of poverty in the country is high, and it is getting worse. That's one aspect that's very important to tackle. So I will expect that both the executive and the legislative will have to work together to ensure that poverty is drastically reduced in the country, at least going forward for the next, as a major plank of operation of government and legislature come 2015. There is an aspect of electioneering that we have not even talked about that I think, preparing for election, that I think we should talk about. And this has to do with voter registration. One of the causes of disruption on election day is when people go to polling stations and they can't find their names on the ballot paper, or they cannot find, they have registered in one ward, and then their name will be pasted in many wards far away. I think something must be done to ensure that that registration is properly carried out. There must be updating of the registration of the register, and then there are new people, younger people who have never been registered before, who may want to come on board. So I think some emphasis must be placed on this, because it's one of the ways to mitigate disruption and violence on election day.
Well, Dr. Ogunkalo, a few days ago when we began discussing this subject, we had a director of INEC, and one of the questions that you responded to had to do with voter registration, the permanent voter's card, and he provided his explanation that it was an ongoing process. But you have again restated the importance of getting the exercise done, and done thoroughly, so that we do not have the glitches that we used to have in the past. Yes. Yes, but Dr. Mukalo, I'll come back to you with another question, but that will be after this little break that we're having now.
The body to sweat, which attracts germs that are easily passed from one person to another.
What keeps you so cool, man?
Dettol Cool combines Dettol's protection with added menthol to protect from germs. Cool gives you maximum protection against germs every day from head to toes, and an invincible icy feel. For super cool confidence, use Dettol Cool.
Dettol. Be 100% sure.
Put a cup of jig in the water, we'll get school uniforms whiter, and it is the tough stain fighter that will get your whites much brighter. Just Chickens! Pot puree and lemon. Just Chickens! Hey, you better go get it! Now available in lemon and pot puree fragrances, the newest and freshest way to chickens.
Nigeria, we the people decree that the power of evil secrecy shall fail.
All Nigerians should understand that a divided Nigeria can only mean catastrophic consequences for the entire black race.
We all African countries count on you, and you are our beacon of hope.
That when Nigeria sneezes, all of us will catch cold.
All of us who look to Nigeria for lessons and inspiration never cease to thank God for this wonderful gift to Africa.
Nigeria enjoys the respect, the admiration, the friendship, and the hope of an entire continent.
The powerhouse of Africa.
Nigeria.
Unite and build Nigeria.
God bless Nigeria. Nigeria.
A message from protectors of Nigerian posterity.
Okay, Dr. Ogunkalo, who's with us at the Lagos Network Center. Let's just go back again to the question of intemperate language. In 2011, one of the issues that the electorate got faced with was the apparent campaign that, look, the country will be made ungovernable if a certain person or certain kinds of persons were elected. Now, how do we begin to deal with intemperate or inciting language in our electioneering campaigns?
It's definitely not beneficial to anybody to be intemperate at election time, and even at all times. Bad language brings bad reaction, and we can overheat the polity by engaging in bad language. I think at time of campaigning should be about issues about problems that must be solved. It should not be about individuals. It is when politicians degenerate to have to reduce canvassing, campaigning to attacking of individuals that we can start to create the template for violence. So it's very important that bad language should not be used. And there should be actually a law. There should be an ombudsman that should monitor political campaigns. And if there are politicians that are using bad language, they should be cautioned and sanctioned. But I think we must get to that point because, after all, after the election, we remain to be brothers and sisters. Why do we want to tear our country apart? So there must be a way to ensure that at campaign time, you must deal with issues, facts, and progress rather than disrupting the electorate.
You said the distinguished senator may want to respond to this issue, and then, of course, take it along with the fact that the general misconduct of some other electoral violences that are committed. Are you worried that up to now, the recommendation of the Waste Commission that we should have a commission to, try those who commit all kind of offenses during elections is still not yet in place?
Well, I agree with Dr. Abimbola, who clearly stated some very good reasons. One, this issue of utterances, not necessarily by politicians alone, maybe by supporters of the key people running or in office. You see, once you polarize the election, that somebody is not from one side of this country, you should not vote for him, vote for the person on the other side of the country, or vote a Christian or vote a Muslim. You remember there has been polarization on even this Muslim ticket by any party. People have forgotten that when we had Abiola and King Gibe, there was election, and people voted them. And still this is remembered, that the June 12 will still be remembered. Nobody talk whether Abiola is a Muslim or King Gibe is a Muslim. So people now, we have polarized the system. We don't talk of issues of what we can do or what we can do for our country or what we have for our performance. But people talk on this religion and issue. And I think I would blame the government on that aspect. If somebody make utterances, whether from any part of the country, the government should arrest that person and charge him to court so that it could be a lesson for others not to do the same thing.
Yeah, but somebody might say that's witch hunt, political witch hunt.
But if there is an evidence that you have made those statements, either in the print media or in the electronic media, that's an evidence. So that could be punished. But you have our lawyers who will come and say, no, it's this and that, and then it will be a court case. But let there be, because in the Electoral Act we passed, it was carried out from the report of Justice Waste report. And I was suggesting that a special court should have been set up. And we also recommended that. But now it's left also for the executive to set up that court. Because if they do set that court up, a lot of politicians will be involved or be prosecuted. And that could be a lesson. It doesn't matter whoever is prosecuted, but that could be a lesson for other future people not to commit that kind of offense. So I believe that court should be set up. And I advise Nigerians to please stop thinking in that direction. Let's talk on issues. Let's talk on performance of each government, whether state or local government or federal. What have you done? And what is the purpose for which we will elect you again? So we have done this, maybe down roads and so on. Then the other issue which they talk of is the issue of credibility on voting a person again. You find that money politics is being used everywhere because there is lack of performance by legislators or by any by executives and so on. I could remember in my own case, for the second time I was going for the election, I performed a lot in my constituency area. I did a lot of constituency projects. So therefore, my opponent who is challenging me at the second time I'm coming for the election, he spent so much money, almost ₦1 billion in a place where we hardly use money for election. But I spent very little money, and I came back as elected a person again. But because for every ward, I have 172 wards. I have 16 local government, which is the highest senatorial area with the highest number of local government. But yet we are able to come back because of every local government, every ward have a project, either borehole. This is one of our constituency projects, because there's this level of poverty is high. The states are not performing as much as they are expected to do, the federal government too. So this our constituency project helps us in alleviating the problems of our people. So by doing these little projects, they still remember you for what you have done, and then vote you again. So I think if elected persons are able to perform in their constituencies, either legislator or executive governor or president or local government chairman, I'm sure people vote for them again, and that will reduce the issue of money politics.
How does the rush of endorsements that we are seeing now, how does that get in sync with internal democracy?
Well, I think it's wrong. And PDP should learn a lesson from APC or AMPP. Remember during our last elections, AMPP was running away from election, Congress, conventions or primaries to elect a candidate. We keep on endorsing. And at the end of the day, we lose. And now PDP is taking the same trend. It's not going for primaries. It's now endorsing. And most likely, it might lose. But I'm saying this is a dangerous trend. Let's go for election. Whoever wants to run, let him run. Let there be free and fair primaries. And if a person has been chosen through primaries, I'm sure the other opponents will be able to also endorse him. But when you say, I have decided on one person, no going back, of course you're offending others.
Okay, we would like to thank Dr. Abimbola Ogunkelo, who's right there on the screen, former Minister of the Federal Republic, for joining us from the Lagos Network Center. Dr. Ogunkelo, thank you for being with us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Yeah.
Okay, and also Senator Kabiru Gaya, former governor of Kano State, would also like to thank you for being with us. It's right here with us in the Abuja headquarters of the NTA. Senator Gaya, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much, and your program for this morning is a good program, and please keep it up, and let's just hope all the people you invite will be trying to be as frank as possible for Nigerians to learn something out of the problems we are in and find a solution to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take a break now. When we return, we'll continue with the other segments of the program.
I bet you can touch your nose with your thumb. Your nose? It's the same with your toilet. There are many places in your toilet that detergents cannot clean. That is why the new Harpic 5 times complete gives you 5 times better cleaning than detergent from the rim all the way to the U-bend, making your toilet completely clean. With Harpic 5 times complete, you will definitely reach all the hard-to-clean places in your toilet. Harpic Power Plus. Buy now for only 350 Naira.
Make we support.
It will be big, extraordinary, and unequaled in the history of Nigeria. The TAN Mega Rally, the grand finale, the rally of all rallies. Yes, Transformation Ambassadors of Nigeria presents the final demand and yearning for President Goodluck Jonathan to declare and run for the 2015 presidential elections. So let us all come out en masse to attend this grand finale rally on Saturday, the 18th of October 2014 at Eagle Square, FCT, Abuja. Time, 10 a.m. For all who love the transformation agenda of President Goodluck Jonathan, it is a must attend. Don't miss out.
Thank you for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria. And on the sports segment, Morocco pulls out as host for the 2015 AFCON amidst the fear of Ebola virus. And mixed reaction trail the sacking of coach Stephen Keshi, plus some golf stories.
All right, welcome. Let's talk sport now. Morocco has withdrawn its strides to host the 2015 Africa Cup of Nations next year. This is due to the fears of the viral Ebola disease, which is ravaging some West African countries.
Morocco have withdrawn its rights to host the African Cup of Nations next year due to fears of the viral disease Ebola, which has ravaged a number of African nations over the last few months. Morocco government, through the federation, had given CAF 3 scenarios to either let them host the 2017 AFCON, for CAF to postpone AFCON 2015 to 2016, or they pull out completely and take any consequence from CAF. But after the African football body failed to respond, the government of Morocco on Thursday morning announced their decision to pull out to avoid the risk of Ebola spread to their nation. The withdrawal of Morocco has steeped South Africa as the next host after SAFA President Danny Jordan met with CAF President Issa Hayatou to discuss the matter, while also Sudan put up their request to CAF to be considered as an alternative host country. South Africa was initially scheduled to host the tournament in 2017 following the withdrawal of Libya as host due to ongoing fighting there. Egypt, meanwhile, had also indicated interest in hosting next year's Nations Cup, stating its confidence in organizing the competition under short notice. AFCON 2015 is scheduled to take place between January 17th to February 8th, 2015. Morocco will be subject to severe sanctions, including suspension of their national teams and clubs.
And now, mixed reactions have been trailing the sack of Nigeria Super Eagles coach Stephen Keshi and his crew by the Nigeria Football Federation. We spoke to some soccer fans on the streets. Let's hear them.
It's a very big slap to Nigerians. And I'm not happy, even me as I'm not happy about over it. So they should allow this young man to perform. Nobody is a magic. I have never seen any either coach or whoever that have done what Kechi have done in Nigeria.
I think he serves Keshi right. When the ovation was on, that was when Keshi ought to have left the scene. Do you understand? Everyone else thought Keshi from Brazil will go either to Angola or Bafana, wherever he was being called. He came back to Nigeria, not being ready to do anything for this country, just whatever he planned to do, whether to frustrate the football system, he came and perfected it. We were almost in shame.
For them to sack Kechi is very, very wrong. Kechi is a good coach to me.
Coach Stephen Keshi was on Thursday sacked by the Nigeria Football Federation (NFF) and replaced with a consortium of coaches led by Shuaibu Amadu and others. Meanwhile, Algeria and Cape Verde are the only two teams to have qualified for the tournament. And golf now. Champion Martin Kaymer sank an 8-foot birdie putt at the first extra hole to beat Bubba Watson and the 4-man PGA Grand Slam of golf in Bermuda.
This one go by. Martin Kaymer, congratulations, the winner of the 32nd PGA Grand Slam of golf.
U.S. Open champion Martin Kaymer sank an 8-foot birdie putt at the first extra hole to beat Bubba Watson in the 4-man PGA Grand Slam of golf in Bermuda on Wednesday. 10 days after a blowout singles win over Watson on the final day of the Ryder Cup, German Kaymer had to work much harder to overcome his American rival for a second time. He raised the 2-stroke deficit in the final 2 holes of regulation before triumphing in breezy conditions at Port Royal Golf Course in the Elite 36-hole event, which brings together the winners of the year's 4 majors. In the sudden death playoff at the par 4 18th, both players hit nice approach shots, but Kaymer finished further from the hole, so he putted first and made no mistake. Before Masters champion, Watson missed from inside 5 feet.
When he just kind of grazed that right-hand side of the hole and missed.
Kaymer for birdie.